Remember when Kamala Harris did that interview with CBS's 60 Minutes? Well, Donald Trump has accused CBS News of editing her answers to make them look more cogent. He demanded CBS release the full transcript of the interview, which so far it's declined to do. So now Trump is suing CBS News. Welcome to Newspeak, I'm Holly Kellum. So back in early October, CBS released an interview that 60 Minutes correspondent Bill Whittaker did with Kamala Harris. Now, CBS was probably hoping that what Harris said would be the headline from that interview, but what ended up being the headline was how CBS edited it. In a promo for CBS's program, Face the Nation, it showed Harris responding to a question about Israel like this.
We supply Israel with billions of dollars in military aid. And yet, Prime Minister Netanyahu seems to be charting his own course. The Biden-Harris administration has pressed him to agree to a ceasefire. He's resisted. You urged him not to go into Lebanon. He went in anyway. He has promised to make Iran pay for the missile attack, and that has the potential of expanding the war. Does the U.S. have no sway over Prime Minister Netanyahu?
The aid that we have given Israel allowed Israel to defend itself against 200 ballistic missiles that were just meant to attack the Israelis and the people of Israel. And when we think about the threat that Hamas, Hezbollah presents, Iran, I think that it is without any question, our imperative to do what we can to allow Israel to defend itself against those kinds of attacks. Now, the work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles, which include the need for humanitarian aid, the need for this war to end, the need for a deal to be done, which would release the hostages and create a ceasefire. And we're not going to stop in terms of putting that pressure on Israel and in the region, including Arab leaders.
But then, when the interview actually premiered, it showed her responding to the question with this response.
We supply Israel with billions of dollars in military aid. And yet, Prime Minister Netanyahu seems to be charting his own course. The Biden-Harris administration has pressed him to agree to a ceasefire. He's resisted. You urged him not to go into Lebanon. He went in anyway. Does the U.S. have no sway over Prime Minister Netanyahu?
The work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles.
Whittaker asked a second question, and again, the response was different. Here's what aired on Face the Nation.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
And here's what aired on 60 Minutes.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
To a third question he asked, Harris's answer was the same in both places.
Do we have a real close ally in Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I think, with all due respect, the better question is, do we have an important alliance between the American people and the Israeli people? And the answer to that question is yes.
So clearly CBS edited her interview down, which it's actually not denying. And I think why this is a problem is because the American voters who rely on interviews like this to make informed decisions about candidates don't know how she actually responded to CBS's questions. As a candidate for president, she is under the microscope for her views on issues that Americans care about, and for single-issue voters, her stance on Israel could be a deal breaker. Now, I should note here that a lot of media companies have interviewed Harris and not only put out the interview in its entirety, but also released a transcript. Off the top of my head, Fox News, NBC, and The Breakfast Club, which is owned by iHeartRadio, all released their interviews in full. And I should add that as a public service, a lot of media companies don't put their interviews behind paywalls so that as many Americans as possible can watch the interview. The Trump campaign said in a statement, the word salad was deceptively edited to lessen Kamala's idiotic response. Why did 60 Minutes choose not to air Kamala's full word salad, and what else did they choose not to air? And I should add that CBS has previously released full transcript of its interviews with former presidential candidates, so it's not an unreasonable expectation. Here are full transcripts it released with Obama in 2009 and 2011, and here's one with Mitt Romney in 2009. CBS said in a statement that what it released was the same question, same answer, but a different portion of the response. Clearly, CBS didn't feel that it had altered the perception of her answer, and it said that it needed to cut it down to save time. CBS stated, when we edit any interview, whether a politician, an athlete, or movie star, we strive to be clear, accurate, and on point. The portion of her answer on 60 Minutes was more succinct, which allows time for other subjects in a wide-ranging 21-minute-long segment. Now, I think most viewers would understand that CBS has a finite amount of airtime and that cuts to the interview might be necessary for broadcast. But what I think a lot of Americans want to know is why it couldn't release the full interview online after the fact. If these interviews are, as many media view them, a public service, then why not give Americans all the information? Now, the other aspect of this story is the Harris campaign's response. In this day and age, most politicians, when they give an interview, record it themselves in case the media company tries to distort what they say. But the Harris campaign has declined to release its own transcript. It told Variety, "We do not control CBS's production decisions and refer questions to CBS." Well, CBS News didn't address in its statement why it's not putting out a full transcript. It has, I should note, released a transcript of both the Face the Nation segment where the promo appeared and the 60 Minutes interview. And now, according to Fox News, Trump is suing CBS for $10 billion. And yes, that is billion with a B, claiming that it's trying to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party as the heated 2024 presidential election approaches its conclusion. Trump attorneys argued that the lawsuit was because of CBS's partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion calculated to confuse, deceive, and mislead the public. Now, this lawsuit isn't totally a surprise. Fox News obtained a letter from Trump's lawyers sent to CBS News demanding it release the transcript and threatening legal action if it didn't. And Trump has also suggested CBS should lose its broadcast license. Here's what he said on the Joe Rogan podcast.
And don't forget, this is election interference and fraud. And it's 60 Minutes, it's their news division. So it's a big deal. They give those licenses out, Joe, for free. They should pay a fortune. They're worth a fortune. They give them out for free because they're using the public airwaves. With cable, you don't have that. Cable's different. But, you know, it's just a different deal. But with the networks, they give those licenses. They're worth billions of dollars. They give them out free. But you have to be honest and all. That was bad.
So, who do you think is in the right here? Should CBS have released the full interview and transcript? And was Trump right to sue because it didn't? And in case you didn't see, I've finally been approved to have YouTube memberships. If you'd like to support an independent journalist like me, you can hit that join button on the homepage, or better yet, support me on Patreon and Locals. Both links are down below. Once again, I'm Kellum, and you're watching Newspeak.